Hey, all right. Welcome back again. Thursday night, November 10th, 2016. You're listening to the Line Sports Talk Podcast. Ready to get after it. Fantasy Builder, 10 weeks into the NFL season already. I can't hardly believe it, but it is week 10. This is the Line. And my boy Harbor Mike is here joining us again live tonight. Harbor Mike, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody's enjoying themselves. I hope everybody's finding a little bit of fantasy success. As we find it right now, we are 2 days, 17 hours, 18 minutes, and 45 seconds away from 1 o'clock kickoff. The 1 o'clock kickoff games, again, the NFL has not been a tremendous storyline this year. The games haven't been great, but I think we're coming into some decent games this weekend, some tougher matchups and some stuff to break down. That's what we do best. We're getting close. Every now and again, I keep thinking we're going to find a way to hit this, so let's see if we can't get ourselves a little bit closer tonight, man. As we like to go, let's start the class. Quarterbacks. What you thinking?
I don't mean to be a homer record on repeat, but I'm going Aaron Rodgers again. The way that I like the week, I'm not a fan of too many wide receivers, so we're going to hop around and we're going to stay we're at that point in the season where you kind of know what to expect from people. You know what chances to take and what ones not to. There's no one that's really panned out. Well, McNown did and Brian Hoyer, but McNown's kind of an afterthought. Now he's not even starting.
No, that's a Thursday night. He won't play tonight anyhow. That's Kessler.
Yeah, so there's very little low-value guys to go with. So the way I've structured all my lineups this week, I want to go with a high-dollar guy. Again, you could probably, even though he's against Seattle, you could go with Brady. But I like Aaron Rodgers at Tennessee. He showed last week, even when they were off, that he could still produce and get you over that 20 mark. And I don't see any dominant games that are on. Matt Ryan's playing Philly. So that I think he'll have a good game because Matt Ryan's on fire, but I don't see him getting 35 points. So
yeah, he's on the road too, and we've talked about this. I like to mention I don't love road quarterbacks unless the matchup is ideal. It seems like traveling to San Francisco seems to be the ideal matchup. Traveling to Tampa seems to be an ideal matchup, which brings up somebody else that I'm pretty sure we'll talk about here shortly. I like that. I have no problem whatsoever with the Aaron Rodgers play. I like it quite a bit. The over/under in that game is at 49.5 as it stands right now. That should be a shootout.
Exactly, and yeah, we're doing that just to remind everyone. We're always going to the games that appear as far as the oddsmen, we'll call it.
Yeah.
That are on the high end of the spectrum. Because obviously it's going to get
for the record, too, last week on our Saturday Pick'em show, when I like to throw that lead pipe lock out there, the game I loved quite a bit last week was San Diego, Tennessee. Tennessee's gone over the last 5 straight games. They will likely go over this number again this week. And when these numbers are set by odds makers at, say, 49.5, I think that was a 75-point total. When they set it that high at 49, the odds makers are almost saying, look, we know it's going to go over. We really believe that it's going over, so they're daring you to play the under. That you look at those numbers, that's where you should start to select your players from. Under no circumstance, and pardon me for being verbose, but under no circumstance do you want to look at that Minnesota-Washington game and say, well, we got to get a bunch of players out of that game. That's under at 42. They're daring you to go over that because it's
and I think with that game, I think eventually Minnesota is going to right their ship and they're going to come punch somebody in the mouth, and that game just screams that I'm scared of that.
Yeah, that is not something I want to touch, but like at 49.5, 49 points is 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. And again, for that same thing, I don't want to touch the Texans-Jaguars either.
But there's another one that looks ugly.
And again, we've now learned trends, so we don't want to touch Texans or Jaguars wide receivers at all for the rest of the year. We don't, unless someone starts to get hot and it's 2 or 3 games. We don't start anyone from that team anymore. Same with the Dolphins. You might start Jay Ajayi. You're not touching their wide receivers anymore. Chargers, you might because of the matchup, but it's getting difficult. Things like that are really coming to play this week and for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I would actually, considering I would trade DeAndre Hopkins and Allen Robinson in our standard leagues. I would trade them for coupons for the ice cream man. They're useless. The matchups are shit going forward.
Well, I think DeAndre's just on a shitty team with a shitty quarterback, and
you
know that. And
he's had a shitty quarterback for. I'm just trying to justify why I drafted him, but let's in the essence of time here, let's jump right into the quarterback plays here. Continue forward. I like the Rodgers move. He is at 9,000 on FanDuel. I'm not sure offhand what his DraftKings price line is, but it's going to be top of the tier. But I like Rodgers. There's a lot of inexpensive wide receivers and running backs out there that could potentially have nice weeks. So I think you can afford to go chalk with Rodgers.
Yeah, and again, if you want to go a little more affordable, you want to go cheap, maybe Carson Wentz for the Thursday night game if you're playing that. Maybe Joe Flacco because he's going against Cleveland, but there's a possibility all of his touchdowns could get eaten up on the ground.
Yeah, I like the Wentz pick. He's at home. They've come off some difficult games, but that Atlanta defense has been pretty friendly to quarterbacks. Again, they seem to love the boat race. They're 31st against the pass, Atlanta is. So I like Carson Wentz this week. I have him as my number 3 play.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. It's just one of those, their offense isn't so dynamic that I think in Aaron, because keep in mind, it's a good play for the money, but we're still trying to keep match with, say, the guy who started Aaron Rodgers. Even a dull Aaron Rodgers with a little bit tougher matchup on the road, I think, can match a good matchup for Carson Wentz at home.
I do think so. I think that in all likelihood, we always talk about stretching that dollar, if you will. So at 6,800 on FanDuel, you run out of Carson Wentz. And if he has a great day, you could get 24 points at him. If Rodgers has a mediocre day, you could get 24 points.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't disagree.
If you have a hard-on for somebody in the wide receivers and you want to double up with 2 wide receiver ones, then that's probably your only choice.
Yeah. No, and it just might be. So I want to throw another name out there to you as a guy like Jay Cutler has been mentioned quite a bit. I think Jay Cutler has all the talent in the world, but serious attitude issues.
Out of my mouth.
He's traveling to Tampa. That's just a juicy matchup, if you will. That Buccaneer defense hasn't stopped anything. Derek Carr torched them. Matt Ryan torched them. That defense sucks. And
you keep in mind, Carson Wentz is at 6,800. Jay is only 200 more at 7.
Yeah, and more experience.
He put himself a pretty decent. He played pretty well. He only had the 1 touchdown, but again, does Jordan Howard affect the overall scoring that's going to go on? I don't know, but yeah, I thought as far as if you want to get down to the cheap quarterbacks, those are pretty much your 2. But
yeah,
if I was
that game was in Chicago last week on Halloween night against Minnesota. That Minnesota defense hasn't been the same, but 252 passing yards. He was 20 for 31 with a passing touchdown, no INTs. Tampa has been so bad. I think they are 25th against the rush, 27th against the pass, 28th overall ranked defense are the Buccaneers. I don't love to drop the load on an away quarterback, especially a guy which you don't know who shows up with Jay Cutler. So far through the quarterback point of this discussion here, I think right now if you really want to try to lock in the right play, it's probably Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, but again, with the logic that you're employing,
Attempting to.
there is nothing that doesn't say to me that the Chicago-Tampa Bay game is going to be a slobber knocker.
Yeah.
I don't see they're still, Doug Martin is practicing. I don't know if he's going to play, but he's practicing. Their ground game is in shambles if he doesn't play because Jarquez Rodgers is going to be still out. So It's going to be through the air through them. And then I don't see them stopping Tampa Bay. I think they give them maybe some resistance because Chicago's defense isn't that bad.
No, it's
but I don't see Tampa Bay stopping them at all because, Tampa Bay, while they give up some yards and they're not too good on the rush of 25 and the pass of 27, you're going to get more out of them through the air than the ground. So
That over-under there is 45 points, so that to me, that's kind of one of those middle-of-the-road numbers. You're looking at 6.5 touchdowns, 24-20 kind of game, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm a little too afraid at the convenience that is Jay Cutler in this game, so I would pass on him as far as he's definitely on a list, but I'm going to pass on Cutler. I want to point out Phillip Rivers, and then I want to talk about three guys who I would completely avoid altogether this week.
Okay.
I do like the Rivers matchup. I enjoy the fact that he's at home. I enjoy that Miami is traveling all the way across country. That's a lot on a defense.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers is pretty trusty. He did pretty well. That was my inspiration for Tennessee because I expect with the lack of run game, or I know James Starks is coming back, but I know Green Bay is still going to be pretty much all air. Mm-hmm. And obviously you have Melvin Gordon doing stuff on the ground. So what Phillip Rivers did against Tennessee encouraged me and said that Rodgers was my guy, but it's because of that. He puts up good numbers no matter whoever he plays. He's prone to make mistakes. I just don't know if he's going to do it against the Miami defense with them on the road. So yeah, I would also feel high on him. But again, I keep coming back to Aaron Rodgers just because he seems to be finding more of his groove, and Tennessee is vulnerable.
They are. Now, same game. I love Marcus Mariota this week and every week. I think Mariota has that constant opportunity to pop one. Quarterbacks that give you that extra 20, 30 yards on the ground and possibly a rushing touchdown. Yep. That rushing touchdown with a quarterback is monstrous because that somebody else in one of these contests could have a receiver that all of a sudden gets slighted by that rushing touchdown taken away. Green Bay is very good against the run. They actually might be the number one overall defense against the run. I think that's a real suspect stat because everybody throws the ball against them all day long. They try to keep up with Rodgers because Green Bay doesn't run the ball well. 17th against the pass, so it's not the easiest thing. I just think that if you really want to get a middle-of-the-road passer, Marcus Mariota has some opportunity to put a couple scores up on the board. Green Bay has not looked good, and then traveling, they've looked even worse on the road. I don't mind Mariota as a play either.
Well, if it's a low-scoring game, which obviously it could be,
sure.
But at the same token, I see Marcus Mariota being the type of horse that can stay neck and neck. So
I do too. This is another one at 49.5.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind starting him this week, and he's 7,400. So you're coming down a few grand, 1,600.
Yeah, it becomes really economical to plug a Mariota in there and just see you've got him at home. 1 o'clock game against a defense that's really been suspect. You have DeMarco Murray, who has been practicing this week, so the better that run game churns and burns for Tennessee, the more freedom I think a guy like Mariota has. I'm not afraid to start him. So for the sake of today's lineup, the Thursday Pick'em lineup builder, I'm really toying around with that quarterback position, but I want to talk to you real quick about three guys, and we won't spend too much time because we've run out of time on the quarterbacks here.
Sure.
Breeze, Cousins, Newton.
Who was the third one you said?
Newton.
Yeah, I'll pass on Newton.
Mm-hmm.
I will pass on Breeze, even though it's at home.
Yep.
I'll pass on all of them.
Yep, those are my three bad matchups this week. I just don't like any one of them. Breeze is always so attractive at home. And maybe, just maybe, there's that one cheap $2 lineup out there that you want to stuff him in with Brandon Cooks, but I'm fading both of those players this week. Way too much potential at such little upside. I'm avoiding those three. So Breeze, Cousins, and Newton, that's the buyer beware for me. Make sure you notice the caveat if you're putting those three guys together and you find them anywhere in one of your daily fantasy lineups. Just research it heavily. I don't love them. You're going to get the seal of approval from both me and Harbor Mike.